Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. It's Theresa here. Today I'm participating in a really fun YouTube hop with ChouxPuff Creations. Shu-Wen asked me to participate in her Stretch Your Stamps scrapbooking YouTube hop, and I'm so excited because for the month of July she chose numbers as the theme for this month's hop. And as soon as she said numbers, I immediately thought about December daily. And so I participate in December daily every year, and I have for about 10 years now. And I'm obsessed with numbers, and I love number stamps. And so that's what I reached for to work on today. And where I'm at with my December daily is day 12. And so I have the back of a pocket page, a literal cardstock pocket. I have the back of that to work with, and a 8x10 page protector that I've already printed 2 4x6 photos for. And so at this stage in the game, I'm not really sure what direction I'm going to take, but I've already been playing around a little bit with the stamps and with some ink colors. And I want to just say that this is something that I encourage you to do whenever you're looking for inspiration. And so you know the quote, inspiration is always there, it just has to find you working. And so do some test stamping before you start and see what comes out on your paper. And these are some of the ideas that kind of came out on paper. You can see some of the stamp sets that I've pulled here so far. A lot of them are from Elle Edwards, Paislee Press for Elle Edwards and Elle Studio. And you can check out my blog post. I will list all of those stamp sets for you, at least the ones that are still available for purchase. I've got a couple of others as well. This one is from Cocoa Daisy. And there's just a couple others that I have off on the side that I'm not sure if I'm going to use yet. But the idea came to me while I was just practicing here a little bit, is to use this transparency Christmas tree. And I think I want to put it in the center and then have the number 12 stamped around it. And that's sort of my concept here. And this is sort of how I want to have them laid out. I want to change up the colors on the numbers a little bit, using just 2 or 3 ink colors. And I am using the archival Wendy Vecchi stamp pads, and also the Tim Holtz archival stamp pad in black. And so I'm just gonna dive right in here, speed up my process now that I've introduced you a little bit, and I'm just gonna start with the stamping. And first off, I want to just say this: if you're like me and you start off a little bit timid and you're worried that you're going to make a mistake or whatever, stamp on a different sheet of paper. Just grab a couple of the types of paper that you're going to be working on and see it as a trial run. And if you love how it turns out the first time, great, use it. If you don't love it, how it turns out the first time, try it again. But I do want to say that you don't have to be a perfectionist here, and that's not the point of stamping for me. The point of stamping for me personally is to, one, have fun with all those cool shapes and, in this case, numbers, and 2, to have a sort of handmade feel to it. You could absolutely do this in digital format, which would be so amazing, and I would love to see that done. Something like this in using digital stamps could absolutely be reproduced really quickly and really easily. So I'm going to start here. I went ahead and adhered the central element of the page, which is this transparent Christmas tree. This is from Elle Edwards from either last year or the year before, I'm not sure. And then I layered a little wooden 12 on top of it. And that's just in case you don't get that this is day 12 by the end of this video. I think you'll probably get that idea. But it was a nice contrast on top of that transparency, and it ties it in with the rest of the page. And so I started out in this lower right hand corner. I don't think it really matters where you begin on your page. Just start somewhere and it will all work out. You'll figure out how to fill in the space as you go, and that's exactly what I did. I think the point, or what was most helpful for me, was not to overthink it. And again, just keeping in mind that I could always redo it if I hated it. I didn't end up redoing it because I do actually really like how it turned out, and I had a great time doing it, and that's what's most important here. So what I wanted to do in between the numbers was to use some of the word stamps in between. And this is an older stamp set from Paislee Press for Elle Edwards that's, a couple of years old or whatever. You could use any word sentiments that you have in your stash. And I know it's not numbers, but I think I've used enough number stamps to qualify for the Stretch Your Stamps YouTube hop. I'm just being funny there. But I wanted to do the little word strips in between sort of as dividers. And they also make this stamping pop a little bit. And I think the idea here is to create a little bit of visual interest, but not total chaos. And I still may have achieved total chaos. I'm not sure. That's probably subjective. You can let me know in the comments down below. Did I achieve total chaos here, or did this turn out really great? Either one. But it does help to sort of create little dividing markers between each number set, especially because this was a 2-digit number. And so if you're working in the earlier days of December, 84 years ago, where you only have a single digit for your number stamp, you might not need the divider, but I wanted to make sure that they stood out as a group of numbers together. I hope that makes sense. So I used a couple of the little word strips, and I also used some of the star stamps from the Elle Studio Star Stamp Set. And they were just the perfect little tiny shape. I pulled in a couple of those here and there. And again, I used anything that wasn't a number. I stamped in black just so that it would stand out as its own thing. And you can sort of see here how I'm kind of alternating between using the red and the green. And I thought that was kind of pretty and makes it feel really festive. And it was there wasn't any rhyme or reason to how I chose what color to use. It was just whatever felt right. And towards the end of the page at the top, you'll see where I start to sort of weigh the balance of, is there sort of an equal number of red and green? I'm not sure if I achieved an equal number of red and green, and that's okay. I think there's probably a little more red, but they're both striking colors and they're really pretty. And once again, all that matters is that you have fun. You could absolutely use as many colors as you wanted to use, and I think that would be really pretty too. I think just the whole concept here is how many different number sets do I have that I can pull into this one page. And the funny thing was, after I was finished with it, I sort of felt almost like it might have been too much. And it still might be a little bit too much. But then when I put it with the rest of the finished layout, it really works beautifully and it turned out kind of fun. Alright, I think I'm going to play a little bit of Christmas in July music for you while I finish stamping, and then I'll come back and work on the layout with you. Okay, that was so much fun. I had the best time pulling all of those stamps together and getting them onto the page. And so at this stage, I'm going to continue the rest of the layout and get that completed here. My story for this day is one of our annual traditions of going to see the lights at Tanglewood. It's something that we do every year. This year it was just my husband and I that went, so it was kind of like a date night. And I thought that I would do a very simple pocket page here, which works perfectly next to all the stamped chaos that's going on the left hand side. It creates a little bit of order here and a little bit of structure for the page. And I also really love a good pocket page. It's just something that has been a favorite way for me to scrapbook for a really long time. And so I just keep coming back to it. And what I started with here was this striped Ellie Edwards card. And this turns out to be a really nice background card. It is a 4x4 size, which is a pocket size I don't normally work with, but I had a good time playing with it, and I found a few little fun things that I'll share with you along the way. And so I decided that this would be a title card / filler card, and this would be a great place to let the viewers know where we are and what we're doing. Even though for our family we know automatically, but other folks might not know. And it's also always fun to add a striking title, even if you do already know where you are. It makes the page more complete. And so what I thought I would do here, I'm going through a couple of different trial and error kind of things. And I wanted to do the word Tanglewood around the circle. And if you noticed, I have two sets of alphabets. One of them didn't have a T, and the other one, I think, was missing a D or something like that. I don't know. But together I was able to spell this out, and so it kind of actually made it a little bit more fun and exciting. So it worked out really well. But what I figured out here is that these little circles, they're probably like 1.5 inches, and the scale of them is just a little bit too small on the 4x4 card. So I'm going to go back and forth here a couple of times to try to figure out what to use in between the stripe and the alphabets. And what I'm looking for here is a method of contrast. And so whatever you put on that stripe background is going to need to contrast in some way. And the best way to do that, or what I found for using these embellishments, was to incorporate a larger white circle and then put the alphabet stickers or the alphabet letters on top of that white circle, so that those letters will pop, because you can see how they kind of fade into that stripe, and you're not really sure what you're looking at. So we're helping the eye kind of make sense of this, right? And you can see as soon as I put these alphabets on this little round transparency circle, it works perfect. And now you can read those letters and read what that title says just a little bit better. And that's probably one of my best layering tips for you, is to work towards contrast. Whatever you have behind it should contrast with whatever's on top of it, and alternate dark, light, so that those layers will stand up better. And then, of course, I added a little puffy word strip there in the center, and that's all that that card needed. And so I'm going to move on to add a few little embellishments here and there to the photos. Notice how when I printed these photos, I left some blank space for embellishments or labels or whatever it is that I decide that I'm going to add. And so again, I go through a little bit of trial and error here to see what works and what doesn't work. I really liked this little gray word art here, and just put a little star behind it. And so what I started doing here was, remember how on the number page I stamped some of those little black stars around the page? And so now I'm going to repeat the star icons here on this side, and they're just going to be a little bit bigger and a little bit more prominent on the page. And of course, who doesn't like to use stars in their December daily? So now it just becomes the fun game of, what embellishments do I want to put with this? How do I want this to look? So for now, I'm going to leave that like that. I will come back to that photo again. But for now, I'm going to move here to the second photo. These are some of the, we never can figure out if they're Chinese ornaments or if they're Chinese lanterns or if they're ornaments. But I love them, and they're really pretty. And I want to just say this about photographing lights. This is a kind of park. Tanglewood is a golf park in Forsyth County in North Carolina, and every year they do a drive-through Christmas lights show. And so you're driving through, and of course you can't stop at every light display, which makes it challenging to photograph it. So I want to just say that I probably got 5 good photos from the photos that I took that night. And so these two work perfect. Don't think that I went through there and got 100 pictures that look like that, because I didn't. Alright, so moving on to the next journaling card here, and this is going to be where I'm going to write a couple of sentences and include the journaling for this page. And at first I thought I wanted to use that branch card, but it did not really work out cut down to the 4x4 size. And so here's where I figured out, oh, guess what? When you cut down a 4x6 card to 4x4, you have a little strip left over. And that works out perfect for just a little strip here on a plain white journaling card. It gives me, it repeats the colors that are in the layout, so it all ties together, and it gives me a little bit of space to write the journaling. And then I'm going to layer a couple of these little chipboard stars. These are also from Ali Edwards. And I'm going to just layer color on top of color there. And then I'm looking to see if I want to add a little word art or a little puffy sticker at the top. And so that's what I did here. I added just a little tiny bit of word art. And then I'm going to stamp some lines here. I always stamp some lines for my journaling. It's just something that I'm also mildly obsessed with. I'm not a big fan of my own handwriting, but I do use my own handwriting most of the time. And this is how I come to terms with that. And so I'm going to actually, those stars serve a great purpose because I stamped the lines in between those stars. So it's probably one of the better stamped lines that I've ever done. And it gave me, it gave me a nice little spot here to write 3 or 4 sentences. about what we experienced, some of the changes that we had seen that they did that year. And that's one of the reasons we like to go every year. They do change up the displays and move things around. They add new lights sometimes, and so it's always just a nice little drive to go through there. So once I have that completed, I decided then to go back to the first photo here. And first I'm going to add a little bit of twine just for a little bit of fun here. And I decided not to knot it. I'm just going to secure that with my Tim Holtz tiny attacher. Of course, it ran out of little staples, so I had to go and find those and get those put back in, and then get those little staples in place. And I left it so that it sort of flows out of the pocket, out of the top of the pocket, and spills out onto the other photo. And that's kind of a cool way to very subtly bring those together. And then I also because I had those chipboard stars already out, I'm going to add a few of those here and there as well, and repeat that embellishment on top of the photos as well. So I want to just say thank you so much to Shu-Wen for having me as a participant in today's YouTube Hop. And I hope that you will check out the other contributors and see what they have shared with us today. Make sure that you leave a little bit of love and let us know that you were inspired by our work. Thank you so much for watching and for hanging out with us today. I hope that you've been inspired to pull out those number stamps, and have a great time, you guys. Happy crafting. I'll see you back here again soon. Bye-bye.